Is it a woman's world? Are we lucky to be living in it? I'm Charlie.
And I'm Cory.
And this week we will be discussing Katy Perry's new release, 143. Uh, this has been, in a way, this has been one of the most talked about releases of the year, for sure. And it's been a very interesting album cycle. Never seen one quite like it, I must say. So it was, yeah, just a prime candidate for the Turntables and Tea treatment. So that's why we're doing it.
We're going to break it all down, but I mean, we couldn't pass this up because it was just such a wild circus of a release and the way it was put out there. And it, whether or not it is, we're not even going to get into the album just yet, but just the press on it for me was like a train wreck I couldn't not watch. And I like Katy Perry, so it was like some of it was like, oh, what? Whoa, hey, you're looking good for a mom. And I've always thought you were a beautiful woman. Oof, you look a little crazy in the eyes, man. She looks crazy in the eyes. I all the press, I'm sorry, Katy, and I'm not talking shit. I'm being purely objective here. Her eyes look crazy. Like, I'm going to say it a bunch through this, but for me, I got a little bit of a midlife crisis here. And I hate to say that, but she's got them crazy eyes. She's got them crazy eyes.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, it's been an interesting thing. And yes, I do want to preface this if you are listening. You mentioned that you like Katy Perry. I also like Katy Perry. In fact, Katy Perry's height of popularity was during my teenage years. I'm very fond of her hits from the Teenage Dream and Prism eras. So I went to the Prismatic tour. I am a fan. So I just want to be very clear about that we're not here to hate on Katy Perry because there are a lot of videos and reviews that's just their goal is to jump on a hate train. We're not here to do that. We're here to
Yeah.
be as fair about this as we can.
It's wild that you prefaced with that because there might be some people who think we're hating. We're not hating here.
No.
We are observing an artist that we enjoyed and we've always enjoyed and saying, hey, what's going on? Let's spill some tea and break that down.
What is happening here all around? So to preface all of this whole story kind of began in February of this year, actually, when Katy Perry went on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and she announced that the coming season of American Idol would be her last on the judges panel, and she said she just wanted to feel her own beat and that she was working on new music. So this started the idea like, okay, Katy Perry is going to be a pop star again. She's going back to her day job. And I was really actually happy to hear it.
Agreed. Me too.
Yeah, because I don't watch American Idol currently too. And obviously was doing okay for herself there. It kept her name out there, certainly. But there definitely was a change with it. I mean, the last album she put out, Smile's not a bad album at all, but
No.
she's dressed as a clown on the cover, and I just was so disappointed at the time. It's like, Katy, you're an icon. Why are you dressed as a clown on your album cover? This isn't cool. Like, it's not funny. It's lame. So I thought, okay, hopefully this means we're going to be cool again, not lame. And after a couple of what we'd call flop airs. So I was here for it. I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go. Let's get going. And so some months go by, and the press release kind of comes out at some point to say that she reconnected with her old producers, Max Martin, Stargate, and Dr. Luke. And Dr. Luke, that immediately got some attention. So, for those who don't know, Dr. Luke is a really prolific producer. He has made a lot of number one hits over the past 20 years. Lots of hits. And he worked with Katy Perry on most of her chart toppers.
Yeah.
So, commercially, it was like, okay, that makes sense why he would do that. But to put it lightly, Dr. Luke is a controversial figure.
That's a great way to put it.
That's, yeah. trigger warning here that this part is going to be heavy. We are going to be discussing sexual assault because in 2014, the singer Kesha, who also worked extensively with Dr. Luke, sued him for sexual assault and just overall discriminatory and abusive workplace behavior since he was her boss. It was a damning series of accusations, and I remember hearing about them, and people were talking and appalled about it. And it's a very long story. I found a very good LA Times article about this story and everything that happened with it. We'll have a link to it in our episode description if you do want to know more. Because to end this off, last year, after almost a decade of back and forth, Dr.
Yep.
Luke and Kesha reached a settlement. The terms of it have not been disclosed. It seems to be over. Kesha's now an independent artist. She put out a new single over the summer that I really like, Joyride. I really enjoy that song. Very fun tune. But in between all of this, Dr. Luke, it seemed like he'd be done in the industry. It seemed like he wouldn't be working anymore, but that didn't happen at all. He's produced under aliases and eventually just started using his name again. He's produced big hits. He's most notably worked with artists like Kim Petras, Doja Cat, who he's had the biggest hits with since then. Those songs were huge. Long list of people. But Katy Perry going back to working with him after not working with him for two albums definitely got people talking, and the reaction was not positive. Yeah.
I'll play devil's advocate on that. And trying to be as fair as we can here. Whether you like what I'm going to say or not, unfortunately, after 9 years, or I shouldn't even use the word unfortunately, after 9 years, between the lawsuit that Kesha had going and then the rebuttal that he had going with defamation. Long story short, 9 years later, they closed the books on that behind closed doors and let nobody know what was going on. So I think it's in that cookie cutter, black and white description of that. I think it's very tough for artists to say the door is shut on them working with him because he wasn't proven guilty, or it wasn't finished in the vein that would have damned him for the rest of his career. It's wild, in a realistic setting, or in the setting we're looking at right now. He's a heavy hitter. In my opinion, he has a high bar to hit on this album. That's a tough one. Coming back with, he's got Petrus's whole catalog, but and Doja Cat singles, that's fine. But I mean, you're going back to where you found a big limelight for yourself, buddy. So the pressure is on. I can understand people being up in arms about her going back, but I think you'll see it more as we move forward because we live in America where you're innocent until proven guilty. And if you're going to do it behind closed doors, that unfortunately, I'll use the unfortunately here, it gives nobody, it doesn't give anybody a choice.
Yes.
Or it gives people a choice, rather than him being damned.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate. I mean, when I heard that she would be working with him, I will admit I was disappointed. I thought that was not the route I would have gone. I don't really think that's an ethical decision, regardless of the settlement. I just don't think it's a very ethical decision. I also actually don't think it's that great of an artistic decision, and we'll get into
We'll see.
why.
Yeah.
A big part of the issue here is that it was announced that the lead single was going to be produced by Dr. Luke. It was announced that the song was called Woman's World, which definitely got some people talking. And I will say this, the Dr. Luke still working in music has been controversial for a few years in certain spaces like Stan Twitter, for instance, but those discussions have mostly stayed confined to those spaces. This reached the general public, and I think the main reason for that is just the name recognition of Katy Perry and her longevity. The only artist who is on the Katy Perry level of name recognition that's worked with Dr. Luke in the past 10 years would be Nicki Minaj. And that's a whole other discussion. I don't think anybody was too surprised that she worked with Dr. Luke, but the song that she worked on with him went to number one, Super Freaky Girl, and it's not even a good song at all, in my opinion. Frankly, a lot of the general public doesn't seem too concerned about who's producing these songs. They like it if it's catchy because these songs have been hits.
Yeah. This one could go a million years, and I think we'll in the near future have to be starting to talk about it just really as humans, but where do you draw that line? And we don't have to get into it today, but I'll put that seed in everybody's brain moving forward, even inside of, or more so inside of what we're seeing in this P. Diddy scandal. Do you damn the songs that you've loved because of the artist? Do you damn the music because of things that happened years after? I think it's a very tough line to draw as a music lover. It's a sucky line to draw, but I'll leave that in everybody's brain, that little seed to grow for a bit, because I feel like we're going to have to ultimately talk about that as a human race coming up pretty soon.
We will. And I will say, Katy Perry herself just hasn't helped anything. She stayed silent on the fact that she was working with him for months. And Kesha, shortly after Woman's World was announced and its producer, she tweeted out LOL that day, and that was interpreted as a shade towards Katy Perry and Woman's World. That was how everybody saw it.
It sounds like one to me, but then I'll also, if you're a first time listener, you might not know my disdain for what we like to call the machine here, but that's a machine play, Charlie. I mean, that's no one talks about this because we're going to get this done and then we're going to get it out there and the song will speak for itself and we won't have to deal with the controversy. So I would have to believe that's a machine play rather than a Katy Perry play. But does it go
I
against this whole woman's world and this power movement? In my opinion, fucking right it does.
oh, it
There's a lot
definitely
of hypocrisy inside of this. I'm already cursing it up. Excuse me,
it
but
it definitely does. And I am glad that you brought up like these. We're seeing so much come to light about the music industry, and I do think that that's an important piece of context. Because yes, Katy Perry only addressed the fact that she worked with him one time. It was during her interview on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which was a strange place to discuss this when earlier in the interview, Katy Perry told everybody just how much she loved clean dishes. And she's asked, why did you work with Dr. Luke? And Katy Perry gave a non answer to it and got flack for it, and rightfully so. She should have been more upfront about it because people do want to know, why did you work with him? And unfortunately, I forgot to mention this earlier. Katy Perry was a person of interest, so to speak, in the Dr. Luke and Kesha case. She was actually deposed during the trials in 2017 to discuss her relationship with both Dr. Luke and Kesha. And Kesha and Katy Perry have known each other for quite some time. They're definitely not friends, but there's a lot of history there, which of course was going to get reported on when it came out that after all of this, that Katy Perry is working with Dr. Luke again.
yeah, it's tough, man. I played devil's advocate on the non-answer. Like, I think that the non-answer, not only being a machine play, but more so being a trained PR play, is the safest for all parties involved. And I'll go on to say, if Katy Perry stood up and was like, I love him, I love working with him, and I'm 100% behind him, and now his court case is closed, so I'm happy to be working with him again, she would have been damned the same way. You see what I'm saying? That
Oh,
non-answer
yeah.
saved her ass, because there's no way you're getting around that. Even if the courts have said it's settled, no one said what happened. Ultimately, it's still a tough one. So that non-answer for me is her only way out of there alive.
Yeah. And I do feel that people are very quick to say she voluntarily chose to work with Dr. Luke. And based on her answers, Yes, that is how it sounds. However, we are underestimating the machine
Oh yeah.
and the music industry because there was a rumor going around that she was under a contract to work with him that was debunked by her deposition. Katy Perry did say under oath she was never in a contract with Dr. Luke. She had a publishing deal with him for free albums, and that's been completed for over 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
But what I don't know the current terms of her deal with Capitol Records. I'm not clear on what those are. And just this industry is so shady. Maybe I am giving Katy Perry too much of the benefit of the doubt here, but a big star like that, the decisions aren't made by just one person.
Most stuff.
Katy Perry is a business, and there
Yeah.
are maneuverings that we very well may not even know about that happened with this. I'll discuss a bit more why I think that when we get into the track listing, because it's just there's a lot going on with that there's a lot of possible reading between the lines we could be doing. That kind of just brings us to we'll talk about Woman's World when we do our track by track and all the detail on that, but album cycles continued. The Call Her Daddy podcast was a bit controversial, but the high point of her press tour was definitely her VMAs performance, where she won the Video Vanguard Award. She did play a couple of songs from the album along with some of her greatest hits, and she gave a very good performance. She's a great performer. I will never take that from her. I saw her on the Prismatic tour. That was an epic show, and she
Oh
still
yeah.
can put on an epic show.
Look
So
what she's doing in Rio right now, you know?
yeah, and she did a Rock in Rio set in front of 100,000 people the day of the album's release that also went over quite well. But I did a Twitter poll on our Turntables Tea account. Follow that in the description if you want. During the VMAs, and I asked, Katy Perry just gave a great performance. Will it help the commercial fortunes of her new album of 143? It was an even split. It was 52% said yes, 48% said no. So September 20th came, and we've been waiting for the charts to come out, see the final numbers. The album debuted at number 6 with first week sales of 48,000. And of course, on Stan Twitter, everybody said, oh, that's a flop. I ask you to get some perspective here in the record industry in 2024. People are not selling that many albums anymore. That's actually a very good number for
Yeah, most definitely.
2024.
But
Some of the big numbers you see, they're anomalies. They are not the rule. That's not the norm to have happen. And it wasn't even a huge drop from her previous opening week sales for Smile. And considering that all the singles beforehand underperformed, to put it lightly, it was a bit of a better chart performance than I was expecting, and this album has not been well received critically at all. It has a score of 37 on Metacritic, and that's prompted an interesting discussion too. It's like there has been a bit of an opposing argument being made that is the album really that bad, or is it just an easy target because of all this controversy? Like, is it just an easy thing to hate on? And a reporter at the BBC said, are ageism and misogyny playing a role in this? And I think these are legitimate questions to ask.
perfectly legitimate questions to ask.
We'll deliver our final verdict at the end, of course, on whether this is actually a 37 Metacritic album, but it's the lowest rating on the site since 2011, which, yeah, that's crazy, but that's how it is.
I'm literally bleeding in my mouth, biting my tongue as we talk about this because it's so interesting and there's so much to say about it. And I'm really not trying to spoil our take on this album. Like always, neither of us know the other's take until we get here. I will say, I think on album sales, it did boost it. I'm going to say the people that are actually still buying albums are a little bit older, and you just threw all the nostalgia bombs at the VMAs. Let it fly. I love the way you put that. Are they legitimate questions? Because they are. You can ask that about anything, you know, and yeah, they're legitimate questions. But we'll see the answer to that, or we'll see our feelings on the answer to those questions throughout this.
Yeah, I mean, and the ageism and misogyny discussion is not new. That's just the same conversation that's been happening for years at this point.
The ageism is tough for me because I thought she was way younger than she was. She's only 3 years younger than me. I did not know that my whole entire life. Not until going through and breaking stuff down this week, getting ready for this. I said, get out of here. More power to her. She's killing the game. As far as keeping herself together and looking great out there. She's a mother. I've already said, she's doing her thing. But I mean, I don't know. The ageism is silly to me.
I've never agreed with it, but it reminds me of what people said about Madonna when I was a kid, that kind of talk. It's like, oh, you're now middle aged. Why are you still a pop star? I've even saw time to hang it up and retire comments about Katy Perry. And I thought, in the real world, nobody would tell somebody about to turn 40 that it's time for them to retire.
Yeah.
Like that's such warped thinking. I realize that Katy Perry's loaded.
Yeah.
It's still a really warped mindset. But yes, this has been a long preamble. There's a lot going on here, and there's even more to discuss.
There's so much.
But we will be getting to that with our track by track. But before we do that, subscribe to us and leave us a really nice rating and review. It would be much appreciated so you can boost us to the world so they can listen to our hot tea takes on Katy Perry and everybody. So 143, which is code for I love you, according to Katy Perry, that's what the theme of this album is, I guess. The album begins with Woman's World. This was the lead single. It was released back in July. There are a total of six writers and four producers on it. Of course, Dr. Luke was the name that got the most attention. What I will say is that Dr. Luke is all over this album, and the co producers are almost all proteges of his who you will see on almost every Dr. Luke record now. So
it's a camp. It is his whole entourage up in here.
Yeah,
with the exception of
one song.
Know if they're
it's literally only one song he's not on, which that was interesting to me considering that's even on the albums that she did work on with him, that hadn't happened before. He was not on every song on the first three albums. There were a variety of collaborators. I did find that notable. I will say that.
Shady is what it is, but
I think it's a little shady too. I do as well. So this Woman's World, yeah, it is a empowerment anthem. I saw the announcement of it and I thought, oh, cool, like that's a Cher song. That was her lead single back when I was in high school in 2013. So I thought, okay, Woman's World. I was like, I thought I'm not gonna like it as much as Cher's song, of course. Let's see what this is. Let's hear what it is. And it leaked that it was going to be produced by Dr. Luke. There were fake leaks of the song. It was just a mess online from the beginning. But it really reached a head when Katy Perry posted a 15-second snippet of Woman's World on TikTok. And the comments were immediately negative. It was people saying this sounds like AI. There's no way this is actually the song. It turns out it was the song. She was very much hyping up this video premiere. I was seeing more promo for this than I had for Katy Perry in a while. They were really hyping up this Woman's World.
Capitol was pushing this. That is an understatement. Yeah. Capitol was pushing the hell out of this. We saw it everywhere. You're like, oh, okay. I mean,
yeah, they put a lot of push into Woman's World being a lead single and Katy Perry's big pop comeback. So the video premiered, and the reaction was, to put it lightly, negative for both the song and the video. Now, as for the song itself, what I will say is, I don't think this is actually like the worst song ever, like so many other people think. It's a pretty generic pop song. It's catchy enough. It's I do think the hate for the song itself is a bit overblown. The producer is a part of it, but I really do think that a lot of the hate was because of the music video, which we'll discuss the video in detail after you share your thoughts on Woman's World, the song.
Take the producer's reputation away from this, and let's take this song right off as the opener for this album. It's cookie cutter. It is, in my opinion, it really, there's places where I can see that it tried to be a women's anthem, but it falls so flat. It is a failure in that, in my opinion. But the song itself is an okay opener for a pop album. It's not the worst. It definitely is way below the bar that I have set for myself for Katy Perry. So when I get it immediately as a Katy Perry fan, I'm like, nah, this is bullshit. So like if you hadn't heard this song, or I'm sorry, if you weren't a Katy Perry fan and had heard this opening, I would have to think maybe you'd be able to be like, okay, it's an okay opener. But for me, as far as like what she's done as an artist, it's fucking, oh man, I'm cursing so much on this one. It is terrible. It's terrible. It's an okay song. It's a terrible Katy Perry song. Now
It
let's
is
get
a
into the
terrible
video.
Katy Perry song.
Yeah.
That is the issue here. And when explaining it, she mentioned that people really like my inspirational songs for me, like Firework and War. It's like, Katy Perry, this is not inspirational in any way. And it's just such a generic beat. The vocals are processed beyond belief. The vocal producers on this album shouldn't be allowed to work vocal production ever again. I'm gonna say that right now. This song alone, because it's so processed, and she's not a bad vocalist at all. We do not need that much auto tune on this. So
Yeah.
it's too much. This really did go overboard because of the music video. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do recall watching the video. I put it on my TV and I noticed it was even pixelated. And I thought, this is a 2024 music video and it's pixelated. That's a problem. So, for those who haven't seen it, this video begins with Katy Perry in this kind of Rosie the Riveter getup. So, if you haven't seen the video for Woman's World, it begins with Katy Perry and her dancers on a construction site, and Katy Perry's in this Rosie the Riveter inspired outfit. And they're dancing, they're at urinals at one point, and haha, they're women, and they're at urinals. And this is all happening very quickly. And once the chorus hit, Katy Perry rips off her blouse and shows us her very flashy bikini top. And we get a close up jiggly boob shot of her while she's singing It's a Woman's World and We're Lucky to Be Living in It. And immediately I was just like, that is so male gaze. Like, what am I watching? And then she's smashed by an anvil to wake up in the future in a bikini and robot legs. And if you thought the first part was bizarre, the second part's really off the rails. Oh my. She just like goes through the future. She ends up losing battery. She has to put a gas pump in her butt to recharge. And she takes a monster truck ride with Trisha Paytas and gets dropped off at a home that she breaks into. And the video ends with Katy Perry doing a TikTok dance with a teenage girl and then stealing her selfie stick and flying away on a helicopter while being asked, "Who are you?" by this girl. And the video ends with her shouting, "I'm Katy Perry." And we thought, are you Katy Perry? Because what the hell did we just watch? It was.
That selfie stick turned into a fully white shining Venus symbol, by the way, as
Yes,
she was flying away on this helicopter.
yes. It was so strange. And just there were so many things about it. And she obviously wasn't wearing much in it. And she looked good in it. I thought maybe a bit too skinny, but she looked good in the video. But it was just immediately like, how can you sing about woman's empowerment while objectifying yourself? This is so lame. This is so cliched. And the top YouTube comment on it is, "This is a like a parody of feminism gone wrong," and that's what it was actually, because Katy Perry then put out a Instagram reel saying that this video was satire and explaining that they were just being very sarcastic and it's very slapstick and very on the nose. And I don't doubt that the intention of this was satirical and maybe she thought it was funny. The problem is it wasn't well done satire. If you have to explain the joke, it wasn't a good joke. This just fell flat completely, and the video I think was deservedly hated on. It was not a good video, and she has great videos. So yeah, it I don't understand what happened at all still with this music video.
I am going to tell you something that I can't believe I'm saying on the podcast. I've watched this video close to 25 times. And before anybody gets terrible ideas, it's because I'm so flabbergasted and I cannot wrap. I want to figure out what the person behind it, Katy Perry, the whole crew, what you wanted to do with this, with this crazy, no off the rails, no thought process. Because if you wanted to satire this women's world thing and hit it on the nose, you have to have context. And as like, these lyrics aren't bad, but there's no real, in my opinion, like empowerment inside of this. It might be called Women's World and say things like we're sisters and mothers and stuff like that, but there's no real, for me, empowerment lyrics here. So there's no satire. You're sitting on top of it, and on top of that, it's almost like someone told her the wrong definition for satire or for parody or for like, and she was like, oh, okay, let's do that. Because I'm talking like Black Hole Sun meets the end of Moonwalker weird. Like some weird ass visuals in this video that I keep trying to be like, oh, they're supposed to be off-putting, but they're not. It's so weird. Even like at one point, there's like a bedazzled uterus hanging where like you would see like testicles hanging off a truck of a guy these days or whatever. And that, it just doesn't feel satirical. It feels like it on the nose, but on the nose in the totally wrong way. I cannot understand this music video, and I want to, and it's literally breaking my brain. I'm losing myself to this video because I can't figure out where in the hell the point of it is, other than showing off Katy Perry. And then I start to fall into this rabbit hole of this whole Capitol Records. I'm trying not to curse a bunch on this Capitol Records comeback thing, and it's like, man, she's drinking their Kool-Aid. She's drinking their Kool-Aid and being like, this is going to be so empowering. And Capitol Records is like, put all of her boobs up there, put them in front of urinals, make them look as silly as you can, and we're popping this out. Bring on, oh man, I go on forever. I really can't figure it out. It's unique, is if I had to find something good to say about it, is unique in the fact of I ain't never seen no shit like this before.
So,
You know?
I went away out of town last week, and I discovered a new party trick. Show the video of Woman's World to somebody who's never seen it and just look at them react to it.
It's wild, man.
It's quite a show. The woman my friend I showed it to, it was a hilarious reaction. It's just,
Yeah.
and just why did anybody think this is the lead single, this is the comeback video, and just girl. I
Yeah.
mean, she's, and it's frustrating because this was all done so well before in the past, and we still have access to it.
Of
Like,
course. I mean, this is the same woman who had fireworks shoot from her breasts. And
yes,
we were like, yes, that is great. It was awesome. And it was done correctly and it was done well. And it's wild.
yeah,
It is wild to see.
it's just like I just can't believe we went from California girls to this. That's
Heard,
really
heard.
where I'm at with this. So yeah, Woman's World, not well received. The
Yeah.
song debuted on the Hot 100 at number 63, making it Katy Perry's first lead single to miss the top 40. And it fell off the chart after 1 week because people just did move on from it. There was a lot of talk about it. It made the general public. There was a New York Times article about this music video.
Yeah.
It was definitely a hot topic for a minute, but yeah, people moved on from it. And it was so disastrous that it did tank the album. And I don't understand why they didn't regroup and say we're gonna retool this album and say this was a fluke and move on. But I guess they put too much money into all of this to give up on Woman's World because they definitely lost their investment. That's for damn sure. This was not it. And also, I don't believe there are four producers on this song. There are definitely ghost credits on this song. There's no way. Six people and four people. No, I don't believe it for 1 minute.
That's one of the easiest rooms ever. Like
Yeah.
if six people worked on this song, phew. I hate to talk shit on songs like that, but man, oh man, oh man, it's you said Katy Perry looks skinny, and I agree with you, a little bit too skinny, but this whole entire video and song are anemic to me. They really are. They are oh
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, I think the song might be kind of so bad it's good in that kind
Yeah,
of way. But
yeah. It's not
that,
an
like,
earwig enough.
it, I, it got stuck in my head a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Or,
But I do agree, it is a terrible Katy Perry song. That's the issue here. We have a body of work we are measuring this against,
yeah.
and this was by far her weakest lead single. And even when I saw her do it at Rock in Rio, just you could tell with all the other songs it's like, oh yeah, this was the worst song you did on your set list by a mile. Like that's the issue here. It's like this just doesn't stack up.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. But the good news is we have 10 more songs, and the bar is very low. So
All
only
right.
up from here, right?
Uh,
Right?
uh, mm.
Uh, so track two is Gimme Gimme featuring 21 Savage, a pretty popular rapper these days. So that's a good collaboration, I guess, to have. And I think their idea in making this song was to do a dark horse for 2024, which makes sense. That was a big hit. I remember dancing the dark horse at my junior prom. Huge hit. I have such fond memories of it. This is no dark horse. Let's just say that right now. 21 Savages versus actually horrible. Both of them. Awful, awful, awful. One of the lines in it is, I'm like Amazon because I got what you need.
My son laughed at it, was like, oh my God, that was the lyric?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Like, what? And Katie's part, I mean, the chorus is catchy, but it's just so, again, generic. And she does actually have listen, cringy lyrics are kind of a part of the Katy Perry experience. They always have been. But in the right context, it works. But there is no excuse for, I could have you crawling on me like a centipede. There's no excuse for that. It was this one, this is as bad as Woman's World, I think. It might be worse. I really do not like this song at all. I get what they were going for, but they fell flat. And the trap sound is super outdated. This is not appropriate. This is just not going to cut it now. It's not going to work.
This track is booty. I don't, I did. If you're a first time listener, I'm sorry. Because usually, if you know me, I try to find something and say, let's get down on this, or maybe the beat is great. I'm 100% with you on the beat. I could have made it with my eyes closed upside down on GarageBand. Like, and I don't care if it's a feature or not. I'm hard on the new rappers, period. But shit, this 21 Savage feature is phoned in, and that is an overstatement. It's slow, it's crap. The whole song's crap, unfortunately. It really is. I never say that, man. There's nothing here. It falls flat. There's not a hook. The hook is a whiny gimme gimme baby. And I'll go on top of that, coming off of Woman's World, where you pump this album as this whole empowerment jam. We're getting at it, and then whether you're going cohesive thought or not, you said a lot of stuff where you were like, "I'm a mother now." I came out of some medical scares in my family. I want to get back to what I do. This ain't what you do. This is nowhere near what you do. It's terrible. It is terrible. I'm not big on it. And number two with a sugar daddy whiny gimme gimme hook song off a woman's empowerment anthem that you thought was going to stick. I'm hugely disappointed at this point in the album. Like
Yeah.
first listen, a bunch of listens after, I'm hugely disappointed at the end of the second track. Like holy moly, this is bad. And it's tough for me to say. That's been a big piece of stress this week. I've been saying to my wife, to a bunch of people, like, I'm trying to find good stuff here. I'm trying to find silver linings, but I'll go conspiracy theory, man. It almost looks like they're making a joke out of her. It really does at this point in the album. It looks like they're making a joke out of her. And
Yeah.
it's sad. It's sad to see. I'm glad we prefaced it with how much of fans we were, because this ain't no Katy Perry. We talked about number one being a Katy Perry song. This ain't even a Katy Perry song.
No.
This is I can see where people say on the AI shit, because this was close to an AI jam for me.
Yeah, on the first couple songs, I do totally get where we are coming from with that.
Yeah.
Let's just be very clear there. But yes, in case I am being a hater so far, I want to tell an anecdote to show you that I am not a hater. So when I was in high school, I went to an arts high school. We did this event called the 24-hour plays, where we would write and produce these plays in 24 hours. My senior year, I decided to write a little 10-minute play. And I wrote one. It was a celebrity death match between Taylor Swift and Katy Perry. And I included a left shark joke. So you know what? I like Katy Perry. I am a fan. I support her and I have a standard. So I am not going to give up on this album yet because we still have a lot to go. And our next track is another collaboration. This one with Kim Petras. This song is called Gorgeous. Now, this song, very interestingly, has a co writing credit from Max Martin, pop super producer. He didn't produce the song at all, though. And I think that's a key ingredient that was missing. So many of the big hits from Teenage Dream, both Luke and Max Martin worked on. And I have to say, Dr. Luke without Max Martin so far, if he is producing these songs, I'm not 100% sure he didn't just put his name on it, because he's been accused of that before. But there's definitely something missing there. So the good news is that this song is definitely an improvement over the first two by a mile. It's definitely an improvement. It definitely reminds me a bit of Unholy, which was Kim Petras' biggest hit. My biggest issue with this song is this is being marketed as a dance pop album. Katy Perry said this very high BPM dance party. This is not a dance song. And so for that, in terms of that with the concept, it's not working. I do just again feel that it's just kind of it's a pretty generic song. It doesn't offend me like Gimme Gimme did, but it's just okay. It could have definitely been better.
There hasn't been a dance song on this album yet.
No.
And you talk high BPM, there ain't no way anybody's dancing to this song. This song is way better than the last two songs. This song has some weight to it. I really enjoy the beat. That's first thing, on this one. I like the way the beat is produced. It has some unique elements to it. Get to see Katy Perry's voice here, and Petras does a great job on this. I like this song. Out of this album, this one so far is half up there. It feels good to actually not be angry at a song so far on this album. So I'll give it that. It is missing a bit. It just it feels a tad stagnant when you get towards the end because, in my opinion, the uniqueness of that beat as overstayed its welcome. Um, but all in all, not a terrible number three.
No, and it does seem like this one's getting a big playlist push. This is the one they're putting out there. I'm thinking it might be a single at some point, and that would make sense. It probably would have made sense to put it out before the album, but yeah, we might be hearing it. I don't know. But the next song is a single. This is I'm His, He's Mine. This is featuring Doechii. She's a newer, younger female rap. She's gotten some TikTok fame, one top 40 hit so far. So this song samples Gypsy Woman by Crystal Waters, which was a hit in 1991. The sample, it slowed down a lot for this song. So in terms of being a dance album, I think that's a good sampling choice to use because that is considered a classic dance song of the 90s house trend. This is a good song. This is definitely the best song here so far. The filter on Katie's voice at the beginning of it was a bit off-putting to me at first, but it has grown on me with repeated listens. And we get some of her higher range when we get closer to it. I think Doechii does a good job. I think they have good interplay with each other. This is the most recent single. Katy and Doechii performed it during the VMAs medley, and they were it was very erotic. Well, I'll say that. Of course, they cut to Orlando Bloom reacting to it because why wouldn't you? Based on reception, this probably should have been the lead single because this has been pretty quickly singled out as a decent song, at least, and one of the better on the album. And Doechii did give a good burst of energy here, so I do approve of I'm His, He's Mine.
It's okay. I'm taking a deep
All
breath. For me, this ends up being money grab capital shit right here. Yes, it is the Crystal Waters jam slowed down, but also this is the Juby slide. This is a pimp named Slickback. That's why, in my opinion, they're using this sample here. And that's why, in my opinion, it jumps so much. It's crazy to have a TikTok star on this track and running the Juby slide behind it, not taking anything away from the original song. I just feel like it's a money grab there. Is it well done between them? I like it. I like to hear Carrie. I like to hear Katy Perry in those higher registers, so I'm down with that. There's a sexiness to it here. This now at number 4, with what we're saying in these songs, I'll be the old man on the portrait here for a second. By number 4, with what we're saying from inside of these songs, the only parody is that you tried to tell us that Woman's World was an empowerment anthem. Like this is a wild, wild album to start off with Woman's World, unless it was your original intention to parody this woman power, in my opinion. And I'm done being the old man on the front porch. But yeah, it's an okay number 4. It runs with Gorgeous. In all honesty, I thought Gorgeous was more of a 21 Savage beat. I think this would have been more or better done with Kim Petras, but they're all still, or at least the last 2 are still okay songs. Gorgeous, and then I'm His, He's Mine. It's okay. I do hate on the Juby slide money grab that I think is the keynote behind this, but I've been also hating on Capital throughout this whole deep dive into 143.
Yeah, there's reason for that. This was put out as a single before a week before the album release, and it was the only video not to garner any controversy. So that's a good thing in this case. It debuted at number 24 on the Bubbling Under charts. Quality wise, I think it's better than that. It's definitely I'll say it's definitely a better song than Super Freaky Girl, which is also Dr. Luke produced and was a number 1 hit.
Heard.
Let's keep it consistent there. That's all I'm asking, but of course we can't.
Yeah.
So we're getting a bit better, and now we are on to track number 5, which is Crush. This is the only song where Dr. Luke is listed as a sole producer. Just putting that out there. Every other one has these co-producers on it. with these generic beats. I just want you to think about that. So now we've got Crush. This is a very Europop influenced song. That's definitely the vibe I can tell they are going for here. I do think this song has a very catchy chorus. It's definitely one of the probably the biggest earworms so far. As a pop song, just general pop song, I think it works. I don't think the verses are very good, but I think the chorus does its job. As a Katy Perry song, it's not good. Again, this is so generic. Katy Perry recorded one of the all-time best songs about infatuation. You all know it. It's called Teenage Dream. And that song had specific lyrics that evoked the feeling. But yes, we went from you make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream to is it a crush making me blush? Here I go again because I'm falling in love. It's very basic. It's not a good Katy Perry song. This is an artist who can do so much better. And there's 10 writers on this song, which, what? Just what? And it's not, all these songs are very short too, by the way. I have an issue with that. For a dance album, you need some extended grooves. And this song, it just doesn't take off like it should. It just doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's not a good Katy Perry song. It is a very, very, very generic Euro pop, Euro crap song. I say crap because it's crap, not that Euro pop is crap. Like it's just the most ununique, uninspired dance tune, I guess, on this on well, it's so uninspired. I'm trying to bite my tongue because I felt like I came out swinging and cursing, but it's not good, man. It's not good. I can see I'm with you. I can see where you're going. I can see you trying hard here. Um, it's just not there. The verses are so slow that even when you get to the like la da da, it doesn't hit. It is sort of an earwig, but that's just that high register. uh it's whack, man. It's whack. I'm never at a loss for words on this side of the coin. It's not there for me, man. You get you look at the numbers streaming, it drops back down here, and rightfully so. This
I
is a
mean,
skipper.
it just, and I'm irritated. I do actually think this song had some potential, but they just didn't deliver. I just have a hard. I know Katy Perry's one of the credited writers on this, but I'm thinking like, did you write one line of this?
10 writers is crazy.
Because I'm sorry, I just don't believe she wrote this song. This is one of the most personality-driven pop stars ever.
Ooh, you said it perfectly right there. Where is the fuck? Ooh, I'm cursing again.
There
Where
is
is the
no,
Katy Perry here? It's not. You're right.
yeah,
You're right.
there's no personality on this song, and that's an issue with this artist.
Yep. Ooh,
So
great
okay,
point. Great point. Great point.
so now we are going to move on to another actual dance song. This one is Lifetimes. This is much more of a house-inspired song, I would say. Definitely has that piano loop riff going for it. I love this song actually. I think it has a really good beat. I really like the house sound. It's something that she's done before. It's gotten quite a few comparisons to her beloved album track Walking on Air from Prism, one of my favorite Katy Perry songs.
Heard.
This does feel like a companion to that in a really good way. I do think that the song is a little too short. I do feel it's missing a second verse, but I really enjoy what's here. And for the first time here, I think this song actually has a true classic Katy Perry chorus that I know I can get from this artist. Of the snippet, a lot of these snippets leaked ahead of time. She leaked them herself, but this one, the snippet of that chorus was released, and I thought this is so euphoric. I love this, and I've listened to this song a lot, and it is melodically strong. Chris Martin of Coldplay actually did a piano cover of this song and saying it's a beautiful song, and he is correct. It's a shame that it's surrounded by all of this, but this is actually a very strong song. It's gotten some generic complaints, but you know what? Some things work, and they're used to overall good effect on lifetimes. I really enjoy this song.
Yeah, no, I feel you, but not a shame. I feel like it's a giant bright light in all this shit that we've had around surrounding it, and I'm a sucker for a good house beat, period. But it's a great song. She kills it. She's singing her butt off on this. She's doing the Katy Perry. I'm so glad you hit that point right before we got here because here's Katy Perry. Finally, we're at track 6, and I feel like I'm listening to a Katy Perry album that I like. It's cool, man. This is a good one. This is a good one. I can see this one sticking around. I can, you saying it's already been covered. I can see this one cut up and taken out to clubs and done. It's just really well done song, and it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the usual, but we really get with the simplicity of this house track. We get a banger here where we've had what I guess they thought were bangers before this that were just generic in their simplicity. So it's good to hear somebody coming through on this. Katy definitely comes through on it, but just being produced well and put together well. It's a good composition. It's a good song. This is not a single, right?
This was the second single. It was
Second.
released
Okay. Okay.
ahead of the album. Unfortunately, because of the Woman's World fiasco, I think a lot of people just tuned out. This song peaked at 15 on the Bubbling Under charts, and a video was shot for it in the Balearic Islands in Spain, and their provincial government said that the filming was unauthorized and could have caused environmental damage to the dunes that she filmed on. So that was not a good headline to get. I
That
don't
sucks.
know the outcome of that case. It was an okay video. It was nothing special. At least it wasn't bizarro like Woman's World. Yeah, I do think this song will stick around. And at Rock in Rio, this got a huge crowd reception. The fans there loved it. They were really going off for it, and it did sound fine in between her back catalog. So that's a good thing. So yes, Lifetimes is a really good song in my opinion. I love Lifetimes. Let's see if we can keep it going with track number 7, which is All the Love. Before the release, in one of her interviews, Katy said that Orlando Bloom's son Flynn singled this song out as being a favorite of his. So, this song, like Lifetimes, was definitely written about her becoming a mom, she has said. She has a daughter named Daisy with Orlando Bloom, who's now 4. And this is her first album that she's put out since becoming a mom. In this song, she's really writing about how just all the love that I ever lost came back to me. Like, I'm so glad I found you. You are everything. And once again, I think this is a strong song. It has a very like 80s production feel to it that I like, but I think this song's just genuine. Like I can tell like this is actually from the heart. She feels what she's thinking. She sounds good on the song. It's not processed to death. I really enjoyed this song. This is another winner for me. So we've got 2 in a row, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, this was a grower for me. I'll be 100% honest. In the early go throughs on this album, I was pretty pissed off by this point. And this composition, I like how you said it was an 80s production and it wasn't overproduced because at first, when I was mad at this album, it was really falling into the background. But more and more you listen to this, it really is heartfelt. There's really good stuff going on with her, just vocally and lyrically here. You can feel that she feels it. And this one has grown to be one of my favorites on the album. I'm with you. 2 back-to-back ones that I enjoy. I could definitely see this in her catalog, her playing this on stage. It makes sense. She sounds good here, and I dig it.
Yeah, I mean, she has announced a tour. I definitely hope that this is on the set list.
Yeah.
No gimme gimme, give us all the love. Just that's all I'm asking, Katy Perry.
And this one falls into a dance
It
song as well.
does.
It might not be high BPM like she keeps saying, but
It
it works. And I can see it cut up and used too. It works.
yeah, no, and it's one of the longer songs on the album too, which means it feels at least complete.
Right.
which is that's just an issue we've been having here. Like these songs are so short, they just don't take off like they should because of the length. This one actually feels like a complete song. And these songs do transition into each other like a lot of dance albums do, including some we've discussed here on this show. But I have to say, this next transition is perfectly done into track 8, which is Nirvana. Again, another very like kind of Euro dance song is what I'm getting from this. I like the elements of this song. Like I do like the production of it. I do even like some of the lyrics. I think it has a very good pre-chorus with the dancing and the blurry lights. The problem is this song is really short and that really great section just gets overused and it loses its effect. And this song, it's unfinished. This song is unfinished. This needed more work to actually be a great dance song. It's merely an okay one that had a lot of potential to be much better. This was the biggest, in a way, I'll say it was the biggest disappointment for me on the album because the seeds of a good song are there. It
Yeah.
just didn't come together like it should have.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm so glad you said it, but it was like this is one where instead of a grower, I keep wanting to love this song, and I don't. I like this song. It's okay. There are parts in it where I really don't like her voice, especially when she's in the lower registers. It seems like she's almost like coming from the throat in a weird way, and it just it sits wrong on me. But for the most part, the reason why I can't find love is the same as you. There's so many parts in this song that sound like they're gonna blow up into something out of a banger and make it a banger. And every single time, or at least most of the time, they end up falling flat. And not like failures, they come right back into the song, but there's so you want to talk about 10 people working on a song, put 10 people on this song. And let's get some real flourishes in here. Let's get some real crescendos that pay off into something, because you're right, there are the makings of an epic song here. It's just unfortunately unfinished. That's a good way to put it. It's just it's not there yet. I would hope that this one keeps evolving in its live form, because I can see her killing this on stage.
I could too, and I think it's definitely a song that could benefit from a remix.
Or,
Maybe just add more lyrics for Katy or get another singer on there. Like this could be a good use of like a Kim Petras or anybody you want to work with, Katy Perry,
or,
because
or
you are still at you're regardless of this, you are still a pop icon. But we're crawling to the end here. We're in the finish line and we're on to track number 9, which is Artificial. This one is featuring Jid. This seems to be a comment on AI, this whole song, which is kind of funny considering the AI criticism that Woman's World and other songs on this album got. This one
yeah.
is definitely a grower song. It's got some elements of hyper pop in it, which is not something I was expecting from Katy Perry. Hats off for doing something new. I really appreciate that in the sound here. I think Jid has a good rap verse. I think it's actually the best rap verse we hear on this album. Much better than 21 Savages. That's for damn sure. I like the commentary of it. I think sometimes Katy Perry has big ideas and wants to make a commentary. This was a big thing with her Witness album from 2017, which underperformed drastically, and it was because she aimed a bit too high for her. I applaud her for wanting to talk about stuff like artificial intelligence. I do think she needs better people around her to make that vision come to light. And in this case, it's not Dr. Luke and his producers, and it should just be somebody else. But this song has grown on me. It is catchy. I appreciate the inventiveness of it, even if it is like hyper pop light. It's something different here. So this song did grow on me.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. I'm 100% where you are, as far as like her singing about it hits me wrong. Where it's just like, what are you talking about? It's a cool idea. It wasn't 100% on hitting, on sticking the landing for me. You know, the hyper pop really meshes with the idea of the song, the way it goes. Jid's verse is I'll say sick. It was sick. It was sick for this album. It
Yeah.
was cool. It was a cool verse, and it was fast enough to keep me invested in the song as well. You know, this one was not phoned in at all. We didn't talk about pacing much here, but this one paced well in this. They're finally hitting a dance album, and with these gapless in betweens or like smaller intros. This one is one of the ones that for me in the pacing category is up there, man. Like this one is almost like an anchor, even though we're later into the album, and I dig that from it. Kudos to her for going out there, like you said, and trying this one. I just not sticking the landing 100%. Not a bad song. Way better than a lot of the stuff we've got on here.
Yeah, it definitely is on the upper half of this album. And now we're at the penultimate track, which is Truth. This seems to be like a kind of relationship turmoil song, is what she's going for here. Doesn't really jive with what she's been talking about on the press tour for this album about being a mom and having a family with Orlando Bloom. Like, I
No,
wonder it just this doesn't jive with that at all. This song is very generic. I feel like it was an attempt to have something somewhat personal or confessional, and it's not. It's very generic. And just this is not, again, it's not meshing with what she's been presenting in her appearances when she's not singing. I just don't think this song is really reflective of her right now. I'm sure she's been there before, but it doesn't fit with this 143 I love you concept you're trying to go for. And that's my biggest issue with this song. It doesn't offend me, but it's just kind of boring, and it really kind of does. The second half of this album has realistically been pretty good in comparison to the first half, but this does bog it down quite a bit.
yeah, it's almost like they wanted to remind us before this album ended that the first half of it sucked. Like they're like, oh, let's go back to the stuff we were doing in the first half. It's so generic. You know what offends me is that I think about her recording this song, and I'm like, man, I hope that you're not pumped. I hope you're pumped about it because you're a musician, but like this just isn't what you're jamming on. The Angels didn't tell you to write this song. This ain't I love you. This is like an angsty, I hate to say like whiny, but like tell me the truth, even if it hurts me. Yeah, like uh, what this, especially this late in here, it's just not her, man. And it reminds me of the stuff at the starting of this album that I was like, this ain't Katy Perry. This is whack. Yeah, unfortunately, this does it, like you said, bogs down the exit on this album, which coming as far as like 5 songs before this, we were seeing a nice pace and a nice thought process at the very least.
Yeah. So the question is now, can we pick it up to end it off? So the final song on the album is Wonder, the only song on the album not produced by Dr. Luke or anyone affiliated with him. This song was produced by Circuit and Stargate. We talked about Stargate on this show a while ago when we did our Rihanna Good Girl Gone Bad episode. They produced a lot of hits, and most notably in this discussion, one of those hits was Firework. Great song, one of Katy Perry's all time classics, and one of the reasons we're here today still talking about it. It's
Heard.
because of songs like Firework. So this one, it starts with a kid. It's not her daughter in this case, but there's a boy, auto-tuned boy singing, "One day when we're older, will we still look up and wonder?" And so it's a song kind of about like, as we get older, can we retain hope? Can we still be wowed by things? And this is a great song. 100% in my book. I think Stargate and Circuit did a great job on the production. I think she sounds really good on this song. I think her vocal performance is really heartfelt, and I do think that more than any song here, this is the one most reflective of Katy Perry today as a mom. This is where she really is. Not the previous song. She is thinking about stuff like will we like can we keep hope? This is truthful. This has been one of the most well received songs of the album, understandably as it should be. I really enjoyed this song. It's a really strong album closer. And I really wish Stargate worked with her on more of these songs because I think we could have gotten better results and they could have pushed her in a better direction because this one's a winner.
100% a winner. This is the feather in the cap of the conspiracy that I have on this, that Capitol and the rest of the producers were flubbing up this whole album, because you can put competent producers on a track with her and she pulls our heartstrings, hits the Katy Perry mark 100%, finishes this album off with what have should finishes this album off with what should have been in my opinion, the number one single for this album. You want an anthem? Here's your anthem. An anthem about looking into the future and wondering, will we still have the beautiful eyes looking up into the sky like we did when we were a kid? It's a Oh man, I'm cursing so much on this. It's a hit, man. It's a hit. This is a Katy Perry song. This is a bomb Katy Perry song. This is what I was hoping for on this whole entire album. I was so angry when I got to this song the first listen through, and I threw my hands up in happiness because I was like, finally, this is the sound, man. Like, I can't believe we didn't get any hits or as many fails as we did throughout this album, in my opinion. They should have produced the whole album, because maybe it's a nostalgia thing, but I really don't think so. As an artist, especially what she's been putting out there and saying who she is as a person, this is 100% that. It's a bomb song. The streaming numbers on this are terrible compared to Woman's World and I'm His, He's Mine, and it's mind-blowing. It sucks because it got stuck at the end and I feel like they hasn't been found yet. I am hoping this becomes a single for this album. I really think this should be shared with the world on a higher level. I love this ending. Thank God for this closer.
Yes, thank God indeed. If she wants to get people to like her again, if they've fallen off, this is the song to get them back, for sure. I mean, Woman's World has so many streams because it was released back in July.
Yeah, okay, that makes
The
sense.
earlier, if they were a bit earlier, they just got more streams, and
Oh shit, that makes sense. Damn.
that's really all it is. It's not because people are actually still listening to Woman's World that much,
Oh,
because
well, good. Hopefully, everybody's on Wonder by now, because that song blew me away first listen and still does.
yeah, no, it's a beautiful song. I'll say it's one of my favorite songs of 2024.
Heard, heard.
Easily, by far. That was what we were looking for. Yeah, that's the end of the album as it is on streaming. There have been a few variants with different deluxe tracks. We're not going to get into them. They're not on streaming. You can find them on YouTube if you want. They're like cute, I guess. I don't find any of them offensive. I do kind of like one No More Tears for New Year's. I think that's a cute tune. Not a
Heard.
classic, but it's fine for what it is. I do, and I think it was actually like I don't know, written by her. It seemed like a Katy Perry song, at least. So that's something. But yeah, we have 143, and we're just at the end here, and we have to ask: is this really the worst album since 2011? Is it really a red Metacritic album? She's never been a critic's favorite, but this is a low. That's really the question we are asking. I have to ask Cory, what do you think? Do you think this is a red Metacritic album?
Yes, Katy Perry 143. Unfortunately, I don't know. Charlie remembers better than me, but I used the word anemic earlier on in this, and it's stuck with me throughout this podcast. This album is anemic. There are times where she shines through, and there are bright little flourishes in there where I'm like, oh man, okay, oh, there's some okay stuff in here, but for me, Wonder is the only really worthy song of her being an artist, like up there. And unfortunately, I give this album a D. Might be my lowest score. I don't know if I've ever given a D. That's what I was saying. You remember better than me, but
I don't think you
I,
have. Yeah, I gave OK Computer a D. That was very much a personal thing. It just did not connect with me. So I am going to be controversial. I'm going to be a little nicer than you and give this a C minus. Because I did Wonder, of course, is exceptional. I did also really like Lifetimes and All the Love. I've listened to
I
Lifetimes a lot this year, so I have to bump it up a bit because of that. And again, I do think there are good ideas on this album. They just weren't executed like they should have been. And that is really the issue. And that brings me to where are we with Katy Perry? Because this is where I'm just confused and getting a bit into conspiracy land here. Or maybe not. Is I don't know that I know she sold the rights to her catalog before this album. So everything, One of the Boys Up to Smile, she got a lot of money for it. But she's still with Capitol Records. Is this the end of like the contract? This feels like a contractual obligation album.
oh,
It kind of does, and that's why I'm just doubting like she's getting all this slack for working with Dr. Luke. And I do not agree with her working with Dr. Luke. I don't think it was a good decision at all.
but was
The
it
res-
hers?
I'm what I
Uh-huh.
have to ask that just based on these results because this is not.
Yeah,
I know Witness and Smile were not as well received as her earlier albums, but they at least felt like Katy Perry albums. I mean, Smile has some great songs on it. Oh my god, like just great stuff. It just wasn't marketed well, and it came out at a not great time.
yeah. This one didn't. It didn't feel like it came all the way from her heart. I'll say that on the very least. I wonder if it's the end of a contract. It's tough, man. It's tough because and we said at the start, but like I wanted this to be great for her. She deserves it. Throw her another rock or throw us another rocking album and sit at the top. You're one of the top divas. You've made that name for yourself. It's just it's tough, man. It's tough to see. I could fill another podcast with the conspiracy behind just the way this whole album was put together, how many
We could
how
do
many
one
producers, like in all honesty, because we really glossed over it, and we looked at each other, and we put as much in there as we could, but there's so much more. Like if you want to conspiracy theorize on why there's 10 writers, why there's 6 writers, why there's people on these tracks that don't even have a real mark on this track as far as their what they do. There's a lot missing here. It's a very weird album. It's almost as weird as the PR explosion before the album came out. There's just something off on this whole process.
Yeah.
Shit, even Woman's World Video, man. There's something off there, man. Can't put my finger on it, and it's really been breaking my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I
not a good album.
I have a lot of questions just about this, and I really do hope one day, Katy Perry, I'm asking you, just tell us what really happened in your tell-all memoir one
There you go.
day, please.
There you go.
I just need to know because I am a little frustrated that we were all so quick to jump on the oh, it's horrible she worked with Dr. Luke. Yes, I understand that that's an issue, but I have to believe there is more to the story here because this is not adding up at all. And it's a really weird time because we're now at the point where Katy Perry's influence is being seen on the hot pop stars of today. Sabrina Carpenter, you're totally seeing the campy feel of Katy Perry with her. Chappell Roan has come out and said she is a Katy cat and that she loves her and that she's so sweet. Like a lot of her industry peers still seem to be supporting her based on the VMAs. Even
Heard.
it seems like maybe her label might be sabotaging her. I don't know what's going on there, but and she's just at this weird place now because despite this, she can still play in front of 100,000 people in Brazil.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And she's going on tour. It's going to be called the Lifetimes Tour, which good title. Thank God it wasn't the Woman's World Tour.
She'll sell
And
that out. She'll sell that out easy.
she Australia's already practically sold out. Like
Oh
she
yeah.
just needs as well if she does a hits show, she's gonna do it. I mean, I'm glad she's not starting in the US because that's where the hate train's been the strongest, I'm thinking. But I mean, I think her tour's going to end up doing pretty well, and I'm sure it's going to be an incredible show. I would absolutely go to see her for the right price because she's still an incredible creative performer,
Yeah.
and I don't quite get what's going on here. She has said that the plan is for her next album to be an acoustic album. I'm sure that's relatively speaking. I hope it's with a different label because whoever advised her on this should absolutely be fired because they just dropped the ball so badly with this campaign and even the creative decisions. And I think she could do that. So I think that might be a return to the one of the boys days, or maybe she'll give us like a Joanne moment like we got with
There you
Gaga.
go.
Maybe I think she could do it. I mean, she's gotten underestimated. She's often compared pretty negatively to her peers, which I can kind of see like why she hasn't held up as much as a Gaga or a Taylor. There are reasons behind that, but that doesn't make her an unworthy artist. It doesn't mean she's not capable of still producing good music. And her early hits are still doing well. Like she's still like the 30th most streamed artist in the world on Spotify. So
Yep.
it's a very strange spot to be in for Katy Perry right now.
It definitely is. Even with them crazy eyes, girl, I hope you bounce back from this one.
I hope so too. I do hope, and I do want to see a Katy Perry redemption arc. I really am fond of her, and she does have a great legacy. And I don't think this album is going to tarnish her hits at the end of the day.
No.
Those still stand, and the memories with them are still going to stand. Because I'll say this right now: as much as I love some of the stuff like Sabrina Carpenter's doing, but you know what? I didn't grow up with her. I grew up with Katy Perry. But the
Yeah,
ones you grew up with will always have that place in your heart. That's what this is. So
that they will. What's your favorite track on this one?
I gotta go with Wonder.
Yeah. For me, it's Gimme Gimme. 21 Savage. 21 Savage killed it. No,
Oh
yeah, of
yeah.
course. Wonder all the way. What a
Yeah.
great track.
Though I do love Lifetimes.
Heard that.
There's that. 143. I've been waiting to do this one because I just had so many thoughts on this album. I didn't even have to write notes because I've been bursting with thoughts on this album and Katy Perry. Just so much to say on this, but I think this was a good discussion, and I hope you, as a listener, got a lot from this and hopefully a different perspective on this.
There you,
That's just not blind hatred.
there you go. That's what we do.
That it is. And so now next week, there will not be a new episode. We'll be taking the week off because we've just got some other stuff going on. We do have stuff we do that isn't turntables and tea, sadly, but we do. And we will be back at it shortly, and we will be diving into some of our Rock Hall inductees and performers at the ceremony, possibly even this coming month. The next episode, because we are going to be getting into the Rock Hall inductees, we're going to leave it up to you. We're going to have a poll of albums on our social media accounts that you will be able to choose from. So you can decide which album we will be covering next from this year's class of Rock Hall inductees. It's a really diverse class, a lot of great options to choose from. So we're really curious to hear what you'll have to say about that. So in the meantime, stay cool, don't lose the wonder, escape the woman's world, remember the good of this all, and we will see you next time.
Peace.